Sometimes a simple night out can turn into something complicated, unexpected, even life-changing. I thought I was just taking my stepson to the movies. A harmless little outing. Popcorn, soda, some laughs, a couple of previews. I thought I was doing a good thing. Maybe even a great thing. But what happened that night? I still think about it. And not for the reasons you might expect. If you're a parent, or a step-parent, or just someone trying to connect with someone who doesn't share your blood but somehow carries part of your heart, this story might hit close to home. So, here it is. The night that changed everything. I had been married to my wife for just over a year, and her son, my stepson Max, he was, well, let's just say we weren't exactly best friends. He was 14, old enough to have his own opinions, his own moods, and he was polite, don't get me wrong, respectful, but distant. Like he was always one step away from letting me in and then pulling back. My wife Jenna used to say, just give him time. He's been through a lot, and he had. His dad passed when Max was 8. Cancer, quick and cruel. Jenna had been strong, stronger than most, and Max, well, I think he was still figuring out how to process it, how to carry it. One Friday. Night Jenna had a shift at the hospital. She's a nurse, works late sometimes. I figured it was the perfect chance for some bonding. I asked Max if he wanted to go see a movie. I expected a shrug, maybe a, nah, I'm good. But he actually looked up from his phone and said, yeah, sure. So, we went. The theater was showing one of those action-adventure flicks, the kind with impossible stunts and jokes every 5 minutes. We got popcorn, big sodas, even grabbed some of those overpriced sour candies he liked. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the moment we start getting along. And for a while, it felt like that. We laughed at the same scenes. He nudged me during a particularly dumb line and whispered, "You'd never say that." And I smiled, not because of the joke, but because it was the first time he included me like that. Like I was part of his world. But after the movie, that's when it got real. We got in the car. The drive home was quiet at first. Max was looking out the window. I assumed he was tired or just zoning out. But after a few minutes, he said something I didn't expect. "You ever miss your dad?" It caught me off guard. I almost missed the turn onto our street. I said, yeah, I do. He nodded slowly, then added, "What was he like?" I told him about my dad's weird sense of humor, how he'd fall asleep during movies and then pretend he knew what happened, how he taught me how to fix a bike chain but couldn't cook to save his life. And Max listened. He actually listened. Then he said, "I barely remember mine." His voice cracked a little, not a lot, just enough to notice. And right then, I realized this night wasn't about movies. It never had been. I pulled the car over. We were close to home, just around the corner, but I didn't want to rush this moment. I looked at him and said, "Tell me what you do remember." He was quiet for a second. Then he talked. About his dad's cologne, his deep voice, the way he'd ruffle his hair after brushing his teeth. He remembered his laugh too, loud and full, like he was always on the edge of telling a joke. "I sure used to wait by the window when he got home from work," he said, "just to see him smile." And then he looked at me and said, "I stopped doing that after he got sick." There's something that happens in your chest when a kid says something like that. It's like your heart wants to break and wrap around them at the same time. I didn't say anything clever. I didn't try to fix it. I just said, "He sounds like he really loved you." And Max, he just nodded. That night didn't go too far in the way people usually mean. It went deep, deeper than either of us planned. And when we finally pulled into the driveway, neither of us moved for a minute. Then Max said, "Thanks for taking me." I said, "Anytime, buddy." And he looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "You don't have to try so hard." First, I didn't know what he meant. Was I pushing too much, forcing a connection? Then he said, "I know you care, I'm not ready to say it back yet." And that's when it hit me. He wasn't rejecting me. He wasn't trying to keep me out. He was just trying to make space for something new. Something different from what he had with his dad. Something that wouldn't erase the old, but maybe fit alongside it. And that's when I realized that I'd been so focused on trying to be a replacement, I forgot that what he needed wasn't a stand-in. He needed someone who wouldn't walk away, someone who'd sit through the silence, someone who'd pull over and let him speak. Since that night, things haven't been perfect. We still have our moments. He still rolls his eyes at my jokes, still spends too much time on his phone, but there's something different now. He invites me into his world, little by little. We watch games together. He'll ask me random questions about life, like what I wish I knew when I was his age. And every now and then, I'll find one of his sneakers by the front door and just smile, because it means he's home. Comfortable. Settled. A few months after that night, I found an old photo of his dad on the mantle. I picked it up, wiped the dust off the frame, and set it next to a newer picture, one of all three of us at the beach. Max came in, looked at it, and said, "I like that." I said, "Me too." And we left it that way. Because love doesn't always look like grand gestures or perfect words. Sometimes it looks like a shared soda, a quiet car ride, or the silence between two people learning how to trust. So, yeah. That night at the movies went too far. It went too far for a casual outing. Too far for a first bonding experience. Too far into the truth. Too far into vulnerability. Too far into what it really means to build a relationship that's not bound by blood but by choice. And honestly, I'm glad it did. If you've got someone in your life who's still figuring things out, give them time. Pull over, listen, be there, not perfectly, just consistently. Because sometimes the most important conversations happen when the credits have already rolled, and the real story is just beginning.